Hello boys and girls, welcome back to American Nostalgia Garage. The last time you saw our 67 Zombie Camaro, I was tearing it apart. We are finally at the time period where we're going to start cutting things out and repairing it with new metal. So stay tuned. So we're going to get started here. Basically, as you can see here, there's really not a lot here to have to repair. The thing is in great shape. Let's see, if you can see right here, this is just an example of how much awesome metal is on this car. And then I'll just give you another quick look over here. I'll give you a look through the heater box area. And that's the floor down there. And this firewall goes down. It's like the toe board firewall panel. And same thing on this side. There's a trap door right here, just so you can get out quickly in a hurry. So today's project is going to be cutting this firewall out and replacing it, as well as, you know, some hidden damage we didn't know about before, which is somebody decided to crash this into an elephant and destroy this cowl piece. So we've got this piece and this piece that are going to go in. So we've got a lot of work that we've got to do today. So let's get busy. So my engine hoist is just going to be in our way, I guess. I think what I'm going to do first is I just want to cut out a large chunk and get some stuff out of the way. Then I'm going to take an angle grinder with like an abrasive disc, flap disc, and I'm basically going to sand back the top layer so I can expose where the spot welds are, and then we're going to hit them with a spot weld cutter. If you guys have watched the channel before, you know I'm not really good at planning, especially so far with this project. We've been very bad at planning, which is why the engine hoist is stuck in front of the car. The car is in the garage the opposite direction that I wanted it to be. And if you watch the video where I tore this car down for this metal work, the front subframe is stuck outside the other side of this wall of my garage, and it's stuck on the outside of my concrete pad and in front of my 4-post lift. So it'll be real easy digging that out when I'm ready. But to catch you up, since that teardown video, I have pulled apart a lot of the interior, steering columns out, most of the stuff under the dash is cleared out, fuse panel, heater box is destroyed, so it doesn't really matter. So I really don't have a lot of stuff to worry about on the dash, but I'm going to give it one more look just to make sure I don't cut through something that you can't get. And if you guys watch the channel, you know we've got cars here. Well, this 66 is not on the property at the moment. It's in storage at my sister's house, because why not use family members for free storage, right? So, but yeah, you know, sometimes you just can't get parts. So you don't just, when you start pulling your hot rod apart, don't just hack everything, because you might destroy something that you can't buy. All right, well, I just got done cleaning an entire tree off of the top of the cowl. And since this entire area right here doesn't look like it's supposed to look, I guess, I'm going to just chop it off and start there, because I don't know where else to do. This is why these things rot out. Look at all this. All right, I got pretty aggressive with the wire brush on the angle grinder and you know, some other tools just to clean this up. And you can see, if you look closely, you can see there's 3 pieces of metal. There's our outside piece of metal, which is our firewall, an inside piece of metal, which is a lower cowl panel, which is basically this piece, which wraps under and then kind of tucks up. And then this upper cowl, which kind of comes forward and down, and that's like the base piece. We have a hole in all the pieces right here, and we got some issues here. But basically, I had to do this in order to see what it is, how far we want to drill through all this stuff. So the next thing that we got to do is drill out 1,000,000 spot welds, which isn't fun. And I probably don't have to do it that way, because we're not saving like a lot of this. So we're not going to be welding back to a lot of this metal. Well, up here we will. So let me show you how you identify where the spot welds are. And then what I'm going to do is take a small drill bit, drill a small little just indentation, so that the spot weld cutter, which is basically this little thing, which is a drill bit that explodes every time you use it. These are junk, but they are necessary. and it has this little locating pin. So basically what we're looking for here is any place where the metal kind of just looks like depressed. That's a spot weld. That's a spot weld. I already got that one. There's one here. This panel kind of comes down, but there's another one here, here, there. It's a little bit of a craft that you have to tune, but it's not that difficult, and if you stick with it, you can get it. So don't fret it. Stick with, you know, your job, and you'll get through it. So let's drill out all these spot welds and maybe see if we can get this piece of rusty metal out of here. Here's another one right here. And what I'm doing is I'm giving the spot weld cutter the little locating tip, just a place to sit so it doesn't spin out of control when I go to drill them out. All right, so let me demonstrate what we're gonna do. Got our spot weld cutter loaded up into our drill, and let's get to it. Now this is not like just drilling like a regular hole where you just lean on it with all your weight. You kind of gotta get it started. And it will skip sometimes. So you can see sometimes you gotta wrestle with it, you know, send the bit in sort of sideways at first, just to get what you need to get out of it. All right, so that's it. See how this is disconnected? It moves around. I can't get my screwdriver in here yet, but this one's disconnected, I'm sure of it. So here you go. It's pretty easy, but you know, there's usually a lot of them on the car. So now I've got to do that 11 billion, 5,700 million bajillion times to get this firewall off. And I mean, listen, get used to it because we have this entire car to do, so we're both going to suffer. All right, welcome back. It's another day. I am currently blowing water out of my nose because it's cold in here. Got the heat on, but it's not really doing a whole lot. It's cold out. All right, we are going to build a jungle gym inside of our Camaro here. We got a bunch of 1-inch square stock, and we're going to build some braces that go across the door door opening with the doors still in place, and then one that goes across the front and one that goes across the back, basically to keep this thing from twisting around. And I have help. Ryan?
Very excited to be here.
From Automotive Chaos. You guys check out his channel because when it comes to sheet metal, he's the guy you want hanging around. We got him to take a break from one of his projects that looks like it melted at the bottom of the sea, but although he's almost done with it. So I enlisted the proper help. So I'm going to see how much of this I can get him to do. Maybe all of it. Actually, I got to pee. I'll be back in an hour.
I'll tell you what, move this to my house, you can bring the 56 here, do the bodywork and paint, because I don't want to do that and pull it even.
Okay, we may have struck up a deal, I don't know. All right, so I'm gonna get inside this thing and get tetanus and get some measurements for some bars, cut some bars, and start sending sparks all over the place, you know? Safety squints. So I just found the pull tab from like a Schlitz beer on the floor of this thing. So, I mean, for reference, I'm not old enough to have had Schlitz beer, I don't think, but I'm definitely old enough to know what it is. And look at that. This is a TBTA, Transit Bridge and Tunnel Authority token. And I'm keeping that. Almost lift the car by it. So we got our little box installed, our doors are off. Car is basically braced up to get some cutting done on it, which is about to happen right now. Ryan is going to work on our cowl piece that I showed you guys earlier. I am going to work on getting the bulk of this firewall removed and out of our way. What I'm going to do is we're going to end up putting rockers down in there, which butt up to here in between the firewall. So what I'm going to actually do is I'm just going to get the bulk of this meat out of here so I could just work on, like, you know, this rail without having all this stuff in the way. So we're just going to basically chop this all the way off, all the way into the car, and get this firewall out of the way. I'll show you. This is why boxing this thing in and giving it some structure is big, because the floor isn't attached at all right now, and there is some weight on it. You can see it moves the entire car. So this is a better look at why I did that. So all of this is getting removed, and this is getting removed. Not right now, but we're gonna do it. So I'm gonna skin, I got this out of the way so I could skin this all back and get in here, nice and easy. This brings up a good teaching point from a guy who shouldn't be teaching anybody anything. Don't run your pliers through a rusty hole in the floor. For the record, that wasn't me. But somebody did do it. All right, now I don't know what we're going to do with this hole, but we have this hole now, so that's cool. Now Ryan's making some headway over here with our cowl area. So while he's doing that, I am going to start actually getting rid of some of our floor, probably almost all of our floor, and maybe just leave the back seat area. Not because we're keeping it, just because I'm using it for storage right now. This area is very complex. This area is the cowl piece that needs to be fixed up, the outside side cowl, the firewall's coming in there, and this is actually our rocker. That whole structure is right here. I don't know if you can see that. See that triangle there? Is right there. So this gets sandwiched down in there. So a lot of pieces have to happen at the same time in order to reconstruct that corner down there where it's all rotten. Down in here. So what I'm going to actually do is I'm going to take off. I'm going to try to get rid of as much of our inner rocker as possible right now, so that we could mock up that piece and create the jigsaw that we have going on in there. So I'm going to take our saw, or probably a Sawzall, and I'm going to follow the inside of this pinch weld as closely as I can, but I'm going to keep it. Again, not because we're keeping it, but because I need something to help me locate the new rocker. So a little bit of a headache here, but let's start cutting some of the floor out so I can actually do the plan. Alright, looks like Armageddon in here. The floor is, or the front section of the floor at least, is cut out from where the rot was in the lower, or the rear footwells. Cut out forward of that. I did what I was saying here, but this thing was shaking my fillings out of my face. So I was just took a break. But came over here and gave Ryan a little bit of a hand with this. This piece is going to take some fitting, because this waterfall piece where the cowl goes down into this piece is not exactly the same angle. So we had to pie cut it here, fold it out, and then I'm going to have to metal work this back in. But basically, we're almost ready to put in our next piece of metal. Or I should say, we're almost ready to put in our first piece of new metal. We're going to wait though. We're calling it a night. Also, this has to kind of all happen at the same time, so we're actually going to get it back so that it can take another rocker, and then we're going to locate all these pieces together at one time. We're going to use the rocker itself to help locate this. Anyway, we're calling it a night for tonight. I'll see you guys in the morning. Well, I don't know how I look right now. I'm sort of motivated. This is my motivated face. I'm motivated and not motivated at the exact same time. And that's because I'm just staring at this. Turn around. This is what we have for a car right now. There is no car. That's the joke. So, what I've got to do now is I've got to finish getting back on, well, this one's pretty much done right here. And then I've got to get the rest of the inner rocker off on the inside of this cowl piece. And then I'm going to start locating inner rockers because I'm going to need them in order to locate all the stuff that goes here and all the stuff that goes there. And the only thing I have that can locate this stuff and this stuff is going to be the rockers coming forward and having to match the existing rocker, which I left just for reference, and where they're going to match up with here. So anyway, the old inner rocker is going to help us locate where we're going to put our new inner rocker. That way we can use that to get the sides located in the corners where all the other pieces are going to go. Also, now we're going to need these panels, because that's not supposed to be like that, on both sides. I have them. I'm just probably going to use what I need off the panel, like say the lower section of it, and then save the rest. Okay, we are truly having a "if you want to destroy my sweater, hold this thread as I walk away" moment. And I hope you get the reference. If you don't, there's two sides to that. Basically, it's like pulling a thread at your shirt. And the more you pull, the less shirt you got. Also, it's a Weezer song. But seriously, the more I pull at this thread, the less shirt that I'm wearing. I'm wearing a whole shirt. It's a thing, you know. I'm saying a thing, a phrase. So I've got some of our stuff like just mocked into place with some vice grips. The more and more I get into it, the more and more I realize how much worse it is than I thought. And then you have the oh poop moments where you realize that you need another piece of metal that you can't get for another week. Let me show you. For example, right here, this like triangular looking piece. This is a inner rocker reinforcement. This does not come with the inner. It does not come with the outer. The inner rocker, the outer rocker stops here, and the inner rocker is here mocked into place, the new one. This piece is something entirely separate, which doesn't come with either. Now, the hairy part about it is I can't put the rockers in like I intended to because I need to get that piece welded inside the rocker. That piece is going to weld inside the rocker and be sealed inside this inner rocker, which we have mocked into the car, and the outer rocker, which is on the floor. So there's no way for me to do it after the fact, which means I have to wait for the rockers until I have that piece back there, so I could put the rockers together with that piece already installed. So I can't do the rocker right now. So that being said, I'm going to wait on the rockers only because I want to be able to mock everything together at one time rather than put things in and go, this doesn't fit quite right, now I can't move it, if that makes any sense. I want to be able to move each piece individually to get a good fit before I weld anything in. What I will say is, what we're going to do now is pivot. One of those. You know, like when your old man used to say squash the bug, you know what I mean? Baseball terms. Or, you know, give me another term, I don't know. That's what my dad said, squash the bug. So we're pivoting. We have got to get some metal in this thing. So what we're going to do while we're waiting for those parts is we're going to fix the firewall so we can actually put the new firewall panel on when the time comes. Now we can't even put this on now if we really wanted to, unless we wanted to fight with this after the fact. So we're not going to do that. What I'm going to do is before we get all of this stuff together and get this firewall on, which again needs kind of to be located off of the inner rocker and this piece and a lot of other things, this has to wait. But while we're waiting for parts, I'm going to fix this hole and this flange and all of this rot. There's a small spot over here. And guys, this happens sometimes. I mean, especially with projects that are like this that are really, really, really rough and need everything. You could potentially, you know, run into a spot where you think you're going out to the garage tonight, you tell your wife you're good, you're going to be out there for 72 hours straight, and you're going to get this thing done. And then you run into an issue where you don't have a spot weld cutter. Why did I pick that example? Ask me. Or you don't have a piece of metal that you need and you can't get it, or it's too time consuming to make, or you can't make, or whatever. So we're going to roll with the punches and just try to get something done. Unfortunately, I spent a crazy amount of time staring at this, as we do when we're building projects, and it's late. So I'm going to go inside and regroup and, you know, we'll just try again tomorrow. All right, we're back at it. We've got to close this window because I guess that's not supposed to be there. We've got a sunroof over here, a moonroof over there, and we've got a closed skylight on this side. Also have that hole that's got to be replaced. So we have some cutting and welding to do today. Let's get busy. Free labor. All right, so we're going to attempt to make this all sort of out of one piece. So my lovely assistant here is going to hold our piece of metal up that we're going to make a brand new firewall for a 67 Camaro out of. And then I'm going to trace the underneath of this cowl to give us basically, you know, this profile. Got some welding going on over there. And over here, this is our patch panel that we made. It follows the bottom of our cowl pretty much almost perfectly. We can tune it in as we get it cut out. What I'm going to do now is I got it self-tapered onto where it's going to go. And I'm basically going to cut a shape in this panel through both panels. And then I'm going to take the panel that we end up with from here, the new metal, and basically insert it into the location that'll now be cut out behind, if that makes any sense. Alright, so we got our panel cut out. I'm just in the middle of like kind of fitting it 1,000,007 times. But I wanted to make a point. This is why these things rot out, guys. Anywhere on your hot rod where you know, the stuff collects, you know, like leaves and all this other debris, that's why these things rot. So, you know, if you can clean your cars. Which is incredibly ironic because, I mean, you guys know I don't wash anything. But this is a good reason to wash it. Alright, so I got our panel just kind of laid in there, and as you can see, we covered the hole where the wiper motor goes, which, I mean, let's just say, you know, we're probably not saving this wiper motor. I don't know. Just a hunch. But what I did happen to notice is that my cutoff disc, which I was just using, happens to be almost the exact same size as the wiper motor body that's got to go through the cowl, which is a hole I've got to recreate. This cutoff wheel actually fits the indentation perfectly. So I'm going to use the cutoff wheel to give me this circle, and then to create this little ledge, I'm going to give myself, I guess, 1/2 inch or 3/8 of an inch inside of the circle I make here as my template. So I'll show you. And the reason I'm doing it this way is because it's a lot easier for me to do this with this panel when it's not on the car. Then what I'll do is I'll basically make a circle, let's just call it right there, about 1/2 inch or 7/16 of an inch inside of the circle we just made to give us our flange. Alright, so we're back. It's another day. This is our patch panel. We cut a little bit more than we really thought. But yeah, I mean, we have a place where the wiper motor can go. It's got its little flange on it, which, you know, I'm pretty happy with. And this is filled out It looks like there's a slice there, but it's just the underside of the tag, the shadow. But yeah, it's solid. This ain't coming apart. Now we have a good area to put where the firewall will overlap, and a good, nice, good metal to weld to over here. And then down here, here's our patch and the cowl. Ryan actually did a really good job with that. It's nice and strong, and it's brand new metal for us to weld to. He also patched up here, so now we don't have a hole there, so that's good, because you don't want to be able to pick your nose from the engine bay while you're sitting inside the car. So that's closed up. I re-threaded these holes that go to the nut on the back side of the cowl so that we can get the fenders on, because this is where one of the fender bolts go. All right, so we got these little floor. This actually is part of like the floor on the inside where the seat goes, and this actually goes inside the rocker as a reinforcement. These are not like mass produced. What I mean is, like, you can't get these from like typical Classic Industries Year One or any of those other places, OPGI. You can't get these. They don't make these. At least from what I understand, I wasn't able to find them. They do sell them. There's like a guy who makes them, I guess, on eBay or whatever. What I'll say is they're close. They're definitely not perfect, but neither is this sheet metal. So there's nothing, you know, it's close. You do have to fit everything though. I don't know if you guys can see it. This is the inner rocker, and it jogs on the, like, in. This panel right here, it's kind of part of the floor here, is this panel that I just showed you guys. It's this portion of it. But meanwhile, the inside of this straight part goes inside the rocker. All right, so what the heck am I doing? Because this directly keys off of the inside of the rocker here, where this angle is, I don't know if you can see it with the light behind me, because it directly keys off of this, these two pieces, in my opinion, have to go together first. Because if I weld this to the inner rocker, or excuse me, if I weld this to the outer rocker, and it's in the wrong spot, like horizontally, then this ramp part, this part here, is not going to match. So if I were to weld it, say, too far down, then I end up like this, or too far back, I end up like this. So I've got to locate it on here first, which is going to take some fitting to get it to even do that. But once it's on there, then I can take the outer rocker and lay that over top of this so that I can find out the location for where this is going to be on the inner rocker and weld it to the inner rocker, because that's where it's going to get welded to first. All right, here's something that I'm not sure if it's smart or stupid, but I'm going to do it. I have this really long screwdriver, and as you can see, I have our rocker mounted up like that. Now you can see how important it was to get this right here. Now I'm going to use this as a pointer right there, and then the inner rocker is mounted to the outside. But this piece actually gets mounted to the inner rocker, not here, even though it does locate off of the inner. So this actually gets welded to the outer. What I'm going to do is, in order to make sure that the location is right when I weld it to the inside of the outer rocker, which is here, so I'm going to take my screwdriver, and it's long enough to reach all the way down there, and I'm going to use it as a scribe to get a mark as to where this thing was located. So now I'm just scratching the inside of the rocker just to get me a location. So let me do that. All right, and this is exactly why I did it. Looks like the plan is going to work out really well, actually. So I made my line. That's basically where my reinforcement is going to go. So I'll just clean up inside that little rectangle that I made just here, and I'll put some weld through primer on there, and then I'll just punch holes in this so that I basically can do plug welds on the inside of this. All right, so we've got to get an establishment back here so that we have a point to actually install these rockers back up to, and pretty much everything else. But since the inner rocker is rotted, the rocker out here is rotted everywhere, including the door B-pillar, lower B-pillar here, it's all gone, and this is part of a quarter. This car is going to get a quarter. We have patches for down here, which are on the floor right here, and we're going to start right here. Reason being, if I can get one piece of good metal back here that I actually have, which is these inner quarter patches, if we can get one piece of good metal down here and have it located properly, then basically we have a spot where our rockers can get welded up to, and basically for our quarter, when we're ready, to weld the skin to on the outside here. So we're going to start here and replace this. So what I did is, since we're not keeping the wheelhouses, I just cut there. That's not going to stay. This is loose. I'm basically going to cut along the bottom. I'm going to make an incision here. I'm going to weld the flange across here, and then a couple of spot welds here down the door frame until we get to like rusty metal. And that's basically just what's going to hang this for now. And then once we get everything else in, then we can start welding things together. And this is why these things rot. So I got this piece folded back. I still got some more spot welds I got to get out in order to get this off. But this is the like belt molding, and it's gone, but it's inside the quarter. So that, you know, that's not doing anything. And then we've got all these leaves and dirt in here. And it just sits in there and stays wet, keeps all the metal moist, and basically it just turns into compost, and it just ruins everything. So I'm gonna get this out. I'm gonna probably just cut some stuff, and then we can get some new metal in here. All right, I got our lower driver side panel mocked into place. We're gonna start welding. I got the gaps pretty good. I'm pretty happy with where it is. I got weld through primer on the back side for anything that's bare metal, and we're about ready to start putting this thing in. Got to work with it while we're welding it, but we drilled our holes basically so every spot where we're going to have a weld is already done. That way when we put the rockers in, basically they just go up and get welded in. We've got our inner quarter structure patched. It's not finished welded, but it's in. We're just going to get everything basically mocked into place or tacked. We got the inner rocker that now will have something to hang on to on the inside. Well, actually not until we put the outer, but now we're locating the cowl piece that was destroyed. That way we can locate the inner rocker on the forward edge. So it's, you know, it's a puzzle piece. I got everything located. We had to cut this waterfall here because it didn't fit the cowl properly. We'll go back in and massage it later. Everything's got weld through primer on it. Everything that's hidden and we won't be able to get to. So let's throw some tacks on this thing. All right, we got this. It's not completely finished welded. I still have some holes in here to plug weld, and I got to weld the waterfall and whatnot in here. And then I've got to massage the bottom part. But look, I'm moving the whole car with this cowl piece now, so it's in there, and the inner's not even welded on. We just used it to mock the location up, and as you can see, we got like a perfect gap. The opening for the cowl vent hole down here is lined up perfectly. We have that vice gripped in place all the way down. The last thing we're going to do, just to make sure that the rocker's where it needs to be definitely, is just throw the firewall up on here and just make sure that it interfaces with that lower forward rocker part where it's supposed to be. Alright, so there it is. That's the firewall mocked into place. Basically what I'm trying to make sure of is that the inner rocker here has a flange on it, which interfaces with the lower toe board here. And I wanted to make sure that it was butted up against it like that, like it's supposed to be. And it is. So the rocker is in the right place. When we get back from filling our bellies, we're going to weld it in. Alright, we got our cowl piece pretty much final installed, just got to be welded, but it's in place now. It gave us enough to basically get our placement for our inner rocker, which keys off of the cowl piece we just put in here. We once we've located our rocker, we actually threw a couple of self-tappers in, one there and one in the back to hold the position that we wanted to. And now we're ready to start welding in the first rocker. We are not going to weld it across here because that's coming out for the new outer rocker, but we are going to weld it basically the door frame forward The back is going to hang in the breeze until we get the outer rocker in, which then we can make the connection in here and back there. Alright, update. Both rockers are in the car now. The cowl piece is in the car with minus the cap that goes on this side. We're basically at the point of putting the firewall on here, which is a huge moment. We have everything prepped. Everything is in weld-through primer. We're basically going to place this thing and get it stitched on there, and then we're going to call it a day for this day, and we're going to call it a day on this video. So let's finish up. Do my side?
Yeah, do your side first.
Okay. Can't weld anything with the welder being off.
You're just not trying hard enough.
Yeah, this is going swimmingly. Alright, we got our firewall in. It is actually resting, the weight of the car is actually resting on the frame bolt mount, stalk, pedestal, seat,
Almost Amas.
you know, thing. Yeah, that's good. We also got our cowl piece on. And we got both inner rockers on. The toe boards are part of the firewall, so that's actually done. Basically ready to accept a brand new floor on 3 sides. On the front where the toe board is, and on each side where the rocker is. So basically this thing's real close to taking a floor and moving forward with more sheet metal repair. And there's plenty of it, so stay tuned. So huge improvement on the Camaro today. I don't even know if we can call this a Zombie Camaro anymore, but we're gonna keep the name because it's still, you know, pretty dead. We have a lot more sheet metal repair to do on this thing. Stay tuned for more. If you guys made it this far in the video, please consider subscribing. Hopefully I earn a subscription. And just for the sake of all the work that he put in the garage and does all the time, go check out Automotive Chaos, please. And subscribe to his channel, because basically you just get to see the other stuff here that happened that I didn't do. Hopefully, you know, sometimes I wish it was the whole thing, but whatever. Nonetheless, thank you guys for watching. American Nostalgia Garage, out.